The coffee cup slipped from Marcus Williams' trembling hands, shattering against the marble floor of the five-star restaurant like his last thread of hope. Around him, the dinner crowd fell silent, their conversations dying as all eyes turned to the 32-year-old single father who stood frozen in his black waiter's uniform, watching brown liquid spread across white stone like spilled dreams. "Are you kidding me right now?" The voice that cut through the silence belonged to Richard Sterling, CEO of Sterling Industries, a man whose net worth exceeded the GDP of small countries. His steel-gray eyes burned with the kind of fury that had crushed competitors and built empires. "This is a $2,000 suit, you incompetent fool." Marcus felt his face flush with shame as he dropped to his knees, frantically trying to clean up the mess with his apron. His hands shook not from fear, but from exhaustion. He'd been working double shifts for 3 weeks straight, sleeping maybe 4 hours a night, all to scrape together enough money for his 8-year-old daughter Emma's medical bills. The leukemia treatments weren't getting any cheaper, and his insurance had already maxed out. "I'm so sorry, sir," Marcus whispered, his voice barely audible above the restaurant's ambient music. "Let me get you a new drink, and I'll pay for the dry cleaning." "Pay for it?" Sterling's laugh was cold as winter wind. "You think your pathetic waiter's salary could even cover the cost of my tie? Look at me when I'm talking to you." Marcus slowly raised his head, meeting the billionaire's gaze. In that moment, something shifted. The exhaustion, the desperation, the months of watching his little girl fight for her life. While he fought to keep them afloat, it all crystallized into a quiet strength he didn't know he possessed. "Sir," Marcus said, his voice steady now, "I understand you're upset. I made a mistake, and I'll do everything I can to make it right. But I need you to understand something too." The restaurant seemed to hold its breath. Sterling's eyebrows shot up, clearly not expecting pushback from someone he considered beneath him. Marcus stood slowly, his dignity intact despite the stains on his uniform. 3 weeks ago, my daughter Emma was rushed to the hospital. She's 8 years old, and she has acute lymphoblastic leukemia. The doctors say she needs a bone marrow transplant, but our insurance won't cover the full cost." Sterling's expression flickered, but his voice remained sharp. "What does that have to do with ruining my evening? I've been working 3 jobs to pay for her treatment," Marcus continued, his voice growing stronger. "I haven't slept more than 4 hours a night in weeks. I'm here tonight because I need every dollar I can earn. So yes, I'm tired. Yes, I made a mistake. But I'm not here because I'm incompetent or careless. I'm here because I love my daughter more than life itself." The silence in the restaurant was deafening. Marcus could feel dozens of eyes on him, but he kept his focus on Sterling. "I'll pay for your dry cleaning," Marcus said quietly. "It might take me a month, but I'll pay for it. And I'll get you a new drink. But I won't let you call me incompetent or worthless, because I'm neither of those things. I'm a father doing everything I can to save his child's life." Sterling stared at him for a long moment, his face unreadable. Then, without warning, he turned on his heel and stormed out of the restaurant, leaving behind a stunned silence and a $20 bill on the table. Marcus bent down to finish cleaning up the spill, his hands no longer shaking. He expected to be fired, but somehow, he felt lighter than he had in months. He'd found his voice, and more importantly, he'd found his dignity. What Marcus didn't know was that Sterling's dinner companion, Sarah Chen, had been quietly recording the entire exchange on her phone. Sarah was a freelance journalist who'd been interviewing Sterling for a business magazine, and she'd witnessed something that struck her to the core. Later that night, Sarah uploaded the video to her social media accounts with a simple caption: "Sometimes the richest people are the poorest in spirit, and the poorest people are the richest in character." This waiter's response to being humiliated by a billionaire CEO restored my faith in humanity. The video went viral within hours. By morning, Marcus's phone was buzzing with calls from news outlets, talk shows, and strangers offering support. The hashtag Marcus Williams was trending nationwide, and people were sharing their own stories of struggling to pay medical bills and working multiple jobs to support their families. But the real surprise came when Marcus arrived at the hospital for Emma's appointment that afternoon. The financial counselor, Mrs. Rodriguez, was waiting for him with tears in her eyes. "Mr. Williams," she said, her voice trembling with emotion, "I don't know how to tell you this, but Emma's entire treatment has been paid for. The bone marrow transplant, the ongoing care, everything. An anonymous donor covered the full cost." Marcus felt his knees buckle. "I don't understand. Who would?" "They insisted on remaining anonymous," Mrs. Rodriguez continued, "but they left a note. With shaking hands, Marcus opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper with elegant handwriting. A father's love is the greatest treasure in the world. Emma is lucky to have you. Someone who learned something important about dignity. The signature was just an R. As the days passed, the story continued to spread. Marcus received thousands of messages from people around the world, sharing their own struggles and offering words of encouragement. A GoFundMe page that someone had started in Emma's name raised over $200. Zero for other families facing similar medical crises. Emma's treatment began immediately. The little girl, with her bright smile and infectious laugh, became a symbol of hope for countless families fighting similar battles. Marcus was offered better jobs, endorsement deals, and speaking opportunities, but he remained focused on what mattered most: his daughter's recovery. 3 months later, Marcus was working at a new restaurant, one that offered better hours and health benefits, when a familiar figure walked through the door. Richard Sterling approached his table, looking different somehow. Humbled. Mr. Williams, Sterling said quietly. Could we talk? Marcus nodded, leading him to a quiet corner of the restaurant. Sterling sat down heavily, his usual commanding presence replaced by something more vulnerable. I owe you an apology, Sterling began, his voice barely above a whisper. What I did that night was inexcusable. I was having a terrible day. My company was facing a major lawsuit. My ex-wife was threatening to take my kids away, and I took it out on you. That's not an excuse. Just context. Marcus listened without interrupting. But what you said that night, Sterling continued, about being a father doing everything you could to save your child, it hit me harder than I expected. I have 2 kids of my own, and I realized I'd been so focused on building my empire that I'd forgotten what really matters. Sterling reached into his jacket and pulled out a check. I know you don't need this anymore, thanks to the donations, but I wanted you to have it anyway, for Emma's college fund, or whatever you think is best. Marcus looked at the check and gasped. It was for $500,000. I don't want your money, Marcus said softly. I want you to use it to help other families like mine. There are thousands of parents out there facing the same struggle I was. They need help, not me. Sterling's eyes filled with tears. You're a better man than I ever was. No, Marcus replied. I'm just a father who loves his daughter, and you're a father too. It's never too late to remember what that means. 6 months later, the Sterling Foundation for Children's Medical Care was established with an initial donation of $50 million. The foundation has since helped over 10,000 families pay for their children's medical treatments, with Marcus serving as its first director of family services. Emma's treatment was successful, and she's now in remission. She often accompanies her father to foundation events, her bright smile and boundless energy inspiring everyone she meets. When reporters ask her about her father's viral moment, she always says the same thing. My daddy taught me that being kind is more important than being rich. Sterling, meanwhile, stepped down as CEO of his company to focus on philanthropy full-time. He and Marcus became unlikely friends, bonded by their shared commitment to helping families in crisis and their understanding of what it truly means to be wealthy. The video of that night in the restaurant has been viewed over 100 million times, but its impact extends far beyond social media. It sparked conversations about dignity, class, and the struggles of working families across America. It reminded people that behind every service worker is a human being with dreams, fears, and responsibilities. Marcus still works at the restaurant, but now by choice rather than necessity. He says it keeps him grounded and reminds him where he came from. Emma often does her homework in the back office, and the other staff members have become like family to them both. The story of a single father, a spilled cup of coffee, and a billionaire's moment of cruelty became something much larger, a testament to the power of human dignity and the ripple effects of kindness. It proved that sometimes the most profound changes begin with the simplest acts of courage, like a tired waiter standing up for himself and, in doing so, standing up for every parent who's ever fought for their child's future. In a world that often seems divided by wealth and status, Marcus Williams reminded us all that our true value isn't measured in dollars or designer suits, but in the love we show for other.